They planned Thanksgiving without me and said Dad can eat alone. He always does anyway. I cooked nothing. When they showed up hungry, the house was dark. I was already 3 states away. What happened next shocked the whole family. Family story. I still remember the exact moment the group text lit up my phone on that Tuesday night before Thanksgiving. I was sitting in my recliner in the living room of the house I had lived in for 32 years, the same house where my wife Carol used to put up the decorations every November like it was a sacred duty. The television was on some old western, volume low. Outside, the suburban street in Maple Ridge, Ohio, was quiet the way it always got after 8 o'clock. Porch lights glowed. A few cars sat in driveways under the bare maple trees. Normal. Then my phone buzzed. It was the family group chat my daughter Lauren had created years ago. Lauren, my oldest, lives in a new subdivision about 40 minutes away with her husband Grant and their 2 boys. My son Derek lives even closer, in the next town over, with his wife Paige. My youngest, Michelle, is still in Columbus, about 2 hours south. I don't usually look at the chat much. Most days it is photos of the grandkids or grocery lists or someone complaining about traffic. That night the messages were already stacking up when I opened it. Lauren, just confirming plans. We're doing Thanksgiving at our place this year. 2 p.m. Everyone bring a side. Derek works for us. Paige is making her green bean thing. Michelle, I'll bring the pies. Store-bought is fine, right? I'm slammed at work. Lauren, perfect. Dad can eat alone. He always does anyway. Derek, LOL true. He'll be happier with his leftover chili and the game. Michelle, should we even invite him? He'll just sit in the corner and not talk. Lauren, nah. He never cares. We'll drop leftovers by later if we remember. I read those words 3 times. The blue light of the phone screen made the living room feel colder. Carol had been gone 6 years by then. The kids had come for every holiday the first couple of years, then less, then mostly for Christmas if the weather was good. Thanksgiving had slowly turned into something they planned around me instead of with me. I had told myself it was just busy lives. Jobs. Kids of their own. I had never said a word about the empty chairs. But seeing it written out like that, casual, almost bored, landed different. I set the phone face down on the side table. The house was quiet except for the refrigerator humming in the kitchen. I walked in there and opened the refrigerator. Half a carton of eggs. Some deli turkey from last week. A jar of pickles. No turkey. No cranberry sauce. No pie crust waiting in the freezer the way Carol always kept it. I had not bought a single thing for Thanksgiving because some small part of me still expected them to call and say they were coming here like they used to. I closed the refrigerator door. Then I went upstairs and pulled the old duffel bag from the top shelf of the closet. The same bag Carol and I used for weekend trips to the lake when the kids were little. I packed 2 changes of clothes, my toiletries, the bottle of blood pressure pills, and the thick envelope of cash I kept in the nightstand for emergencies. I left my phone charger on the dresser. I left the house key under the flower pot on the front porch the way I always did for the kids. Then I walked through every room and turned off the lights. Living room. Kitchen. Hallway. Upstairs. I even unplugged the porch light. Outside the air smelled like wet leaves and would smoke from someone's fireplace down the block. My old blue Chevy Impala was parked in the driveway. I got in, started the engine, and backed out without looking at the house again. The GPS on the dash still had the old lake cabin address saved from years ago. That cabin is 3 states away, across Indiana and Illinois and into the southern tip of Wisconsin, up near a little town called Twin Lakes. Carol's cousin used to own it. When he passed, the place sat empty. I had the key on my keyring the whole time and never used it. I drove through the night. The highways were mostly empty. Truckers. A few other lonely cars. I stopped once for gas and coffee somewhere outside Indianapolis. The clerk asked if I was headed home for the holiday. I told him I was. He wished me a good one. I paid cash and kept moving. By the time the sun came up, I was crossing into Wisconsin. The trees looked different up there, thicker, darker green even in late November. I found the cabin at the end of a gravel road, half hidden by pines. The lock still worked. Inside it smelled like dust and old wood. There was a wood stove, a couch that sagged in the middle, a small kitchen with a propane stove. No television. No internet. Perfect. I spent Wednesday stacking firewood from the pile out back and clearing a path to the lake. The water was already starting to freeze at the edges. I sat on the dock with a thermos of coffee and watched the sky turn gray. For the first time in years, I did not feel the weight of an empty house behind me. I cooked nothing that day either. Just heated a can of soup on the stove and ate it standing up. Thursday morning I woke early. No kids running down the stairs. No smell of roasting turkey. No carol humming in the kitchen. Just the quiet of the pines and the occasional crack of ice on the lake. I made more coffee and sat by the window. Around noon I thought about the house back in Maple Ridge. Dark. Empty. The kids would be pulling into the driveway sometime after 2, expecting the porch light, maybe the smell of something cooking, maybe me in the recliner waiting with a forced smile. Instead, they would find nothing. I wondered how long it would take them to notice the key under the flower pot and realize I was not inside. I did not turn my phone on until Friday afternoon. When I did, the notifications hit like a wave. 17 missed calls from Lauren. 12 from Derek. 9 from Michelle. Texts stacked on top of each other. Lauren, Dad, where are you? The house is dark. We brought food. Derek, this isn't funny. Are you okay? Michelle, please call me. We're worried. Lauren, the neighbor said your car has been gone since Tuesday night. What is going on? I did not answer any of them. I sat on the cabin steps and watched the late afternoon light filter through the trees. Part of me felt guilty. Most of me felt something closer to relief. Saturday morning the real shock started. I was splitting a few more logs when I heard tires on the gravel. A dark SUV came around the bend, then another car behind it. Lauren got out first. Her face was pale. Derek followed, then Michelle, then Grant and Paige trailing behind. The grandkids stayed in the cars, faces pressed to the windows. Lauren walked toward me with her arms crossed. You scared the hell out of us. I set the axe down. You said I always eat alone anyway. Her mouth opened and closed. Derek looked at the ground. Michelle's eyes were red like she had been crying. We didn't mean it like that, Lauren said. You typed it. Silence. The wind moved through the pines. Then Derek spoke, quieter than I had ever heard him. We found the papers in your desk. I knew what he meant. The folder I kept in the bottom drawer with the deed to the house, the will, the life insurance, and the letter I had written the year after Carol died. The letter that said if anything happened to me the house was to be sold and the money split 3 ways, no arguments. I had never told them about the letter. I had just left it there in case. You were going to sell the house? Michelle's voice cracked. I still might. Lauren stepped closer. Dad, we were wrong. We know that. But disappearing like this, the neighbors called the police when they saw us trying the doors. They thought something happened to you. I looked at the 3 of them standing there in their nice coats, the same coats they would have worn to Lauren's perfect Thanksgiving table. Behind them the grandkids were getting restless in the cars. I cooked nothing, I said. The house was dark. I was already 3 states away. That was the point. No one spoke for a long minute. Then Michelle wiped her face and said, Can we come inside? It's cold. I nodded toward the cabin. They filed in. The place was too small for all of them, but they made it work. Paige started a fire in the wood stove without being asked. Grant took the kids down to the lake to skip stones on the ice. Lauren sat at the little table and stared at her hands. We did not talk about the group text again that day. We did not talk about the empty chairs or the years of half-hearted invitations. We just sat in that old cabin while the fire popped and the wind pushed against the windows. Later, Paige found a box of pancake mix in the cupboard and made a late breakfast for everyone. The kids ate like they were starving. Derek stood at the sink washing the plates the way he used to when he was a teenager. Around 4 o'clock, Lauren came and sat next to me on the couch. Her voice was low. We called around. The cabin is still in Cousin Ray's name on the tax records. We had to talk to 3 different relatives to track the key. That's how we found you. I almost smiled. Took you long enough. She looked at me for a long time. Don't do that again. Please. I did not promise anything. I just watched the fire. They stayed the night. The kids slept in the cars with blankets. The adults took the floor and the sagging couch. In the morning they loaded up and drove back south. I stayed one more day, then locked the cabin and drove home myself. The house in Maple Ridge was exactly as I left it. Dark. Quiet. The key still under the flower pot. Inside, on the kitchen counter, someone had left a foil pan of leftover turkey and a note in Lauren's handwriting. We're sorry. Come next year. Or don't. Just tell us where you are. I put the pan in the refrigerator and sat down in the recliner. The television was still off. Outside, the streetlights came on one by one. I did not turn on a single light in the house that night. I just sat there in the dark and listened to the quiet, the same quiet they thought I always preferred. The next morning I started packing boxes.